Chapter 4. I flinched and covered my face, even though I knew it wouldn't help. Exposure to the outside air was deadly, and if it didn't kill you right away, the radiation would lead to tumors soon enough. I turned to race back down the stairs, but Adrian grabbed my upper arm. "Let go of me!" I shrieked and wrenched away. "Do you have a death wish?" Images from our textbooks flashed in my mind as I struggled to hurry down the stairs. Boiling skin, slow, painful deaths. It was probably already too late. "Zoe!" Adrian grabbed both my arms, now holding me back from the stairs. "Zoe, be quiet or someone will notice." I kept pulling away, viciously scratching him with my other hand, anything to get away from the rectangular doorway of the toxic surface air. He growled in pain as I dug my nails in deep. He suddenly twisted me around, holding both of my arms across my chest, encasing me like a straitjacket with his body behind mine. He had me trapped, but I continued to struggle, holding my breath for as long as I could. Icy cold fear raced up and down my spine. He faced me toward the door and the toxic air beyond. "Calm down," he said. "Crack in hell. Should have just told you before, but I knew you'd never come if I told you we were going to the surface. Listen to me. It's not toxic out there." My body stopped struggling for a moment in shock at what he said. His voice was an intense whisper, blowing the hair by my ear. "Walking around without gear won't kill you. It's harmless, in fact. The bastards lied, Zoe. They lied about the whole history of the old world. But the nuclear bomb. Only a few bombs were released on D-Day, just enough to make it convincing, and Community Corps did it themselves. They did it intentionally. Don't you see? The community didn't save you. They caged and enslaved you." "You're lying," I snapped. "The community protects us. Everyone knows that." I tried to break away from him. I closed my eyes, begging to hear the hum in my head, to summon the ability to close the door with my mind. Nothing. "Just hear me out," he hissed in my ear, tightening his arm around me. "Community Corps created D-Day, and then they made everyone believe that they were the only ones who could save us from total nuclear destruction. The only ones who could save us from ourselves. After a few generations, no one remembered the truth anymore, only what they'd been told. It's almost all lies. Zoe, most community government buildings are above the god-limbed ground." I twisted around as much as I could look back at him. You're broken, anomalous, don't know what you're saying." I glanced at the rectangle of light. It didn't hurt my eyes so much to look at anymore. "How long have we been standing here exposed?" "I'm not cracked, Zoe," he said. "The surface is completely harmless." He loosened his grip on me a little, and I pulled away a step. He held me by the hands, turning me around to face him. "You guys from underground sectors always have the hardest time dealing with this part. People like your parents are mindless mid-tier quality control reps. But in other parts of the sector, there are those subjects working above ground as drone planters and harvesters." We took a breath, watching my face closely. "Think, Zoe. You know they'd lied about what the link does. You know the hardware does more than connect people together. It doesn't protect them, it controls them. But they can't control you anymore now that you're glitching. You are dangerous, but not to the other subjects. You're dangerous to the officials and uppers who run the community. You're their worst fear." My pulse started to race. He had been watching me. He knew a lot about me, but why was he taking me to the surface? To die? He could have just left me in that horrible room, A117. I shook my head and stood back one step down the stairs. Even though he was still holding my hands, he didn't try to stop me. "Going with you was completely logical. We need to go back and see a diagnostic specialist." He shook his head. "How can you say that? How do you go back and let them rewire you until you're no longer you?" I looked down. How many times had I asked myself that same question? But the strange thoughts that drifted through my mind made entirely from the soft matter of my imagination instead of cold, hard facts. The colors, the light, all the wild emotions. There was a reason I hadn't turned myself in, and Adrian understood. It was impossible, but this stranger understood me. "And that's not even to mention your ability," he said. "Moving things in your mind, telekinesis. We haven't met one like you before." I felt my eyes widen. You couldn't know. It's impossible. What I thought just a second before was some deep connection between us now seemed calculated. It must be a monitor. I looked around frantically. This was a trap. "I don't know what you're talking about," I stalled. Panic bubbled up inside me. My head filled again with a glowing hum. And I tried to latch onto it, to use whatever ability I might have to reach out behind Adrian and close that door, but I was too shaken. I looked up and saw him staring at my face. Then something he had said earlier struck me. "Who is we?" He smiled. "You're not the only one with gifts, Zoe. There are others." Started. "Others?" Others like me, that meant I wasn't alone? Adrian sighed, raising his hands in surrender. Please, I'd like to take you to meet them, but I can't drag you kicking and screaming. Number 1, we'd get caught. Number 2, I'd never do that to you. You're away from the control of the link now. You have your own mind, and you can make your own decisions. I'm giving you what the community never will. A choice. And with that, he stepped back. I immediately fled down a few more stairs to get away from the open door, but then, in spite of my terror, the warring thoughts in my head made me pause. I looked back up at Adrian, trying to work through the jumble of chaotic new ideas. Others like me? It sounded too good to be true. My thoughts raced too quickly to finish one before another swallowed it up. Could I trust him? He took a deep breath. Come with me. There are other gifted people here, living on the surface. Free and real and alive. I'm one of them. That's how I know about the pictures you draw. You draw the world as you wish it was. I know about the one you drew yesterday, a boy's face. It was your brother's, right? How'd you know? His words poured out in a rush. I know that you drew him in the pictures like you wish you could see him in real life. The way he looked at you from the picture was love, wasn't it? That's what you drew in his face? I felt my mouth drop open. How could you know that? It's my gift. I can see glimpses of the future. I blinked rapidly, letting the ramifications of that statement sink in. Everything he was saying was impossible. Everything that had happened today was impossible. This person standing before me, anomalous just like me, the surface, safe, and a boy who could see the future, was crazy. But then again, I could move objects with my mind. That was just impossible. Just as impossible. And he was right about the picture I'd drawn. How could he have known so much about my deepest secrets if he wasn't telling the truth? If you can see the future, then what will happen if I don't go with you? My voice trembled, and I held onto the concrete wall behind me, trying to steady myself. I don't cracking know, he breathed out, and rubbed his eyes, looking unsure for the first time. Still learning the limits of my gift. I haven't seen what happens next, but I hope you'll choose to come with me anyway. The resistance will keep you safe. I looked up at his face. The thick brown hair that was cropped regulation length but still stuck up anyway, unruly and rebellious. I looked back and forth between the intensity of his green eyes and the open door. Everything I'd ever been told about the surface was dangerous, and the things that had been weren't possible. But I feel he was right about one thing. The community was lying to us about the link and V-chip. What other lies did they tell us? And what would they do if they found out I knew? Zoe, he said. You know what they'll do if you go back, he said, again, quietly, as if he'd read my mind. They'll run the diagnostic on you and find out you've been glitching. They'll find out about your telekinesis. Seen a few people after they got done experimenting on them. It's shut and horrid. His voice cracked. He shook his head and looked at the arm readout. Shunt. We're running out of time. His face turned pleading again, a faint rumble of sound in the distance somewhere on the surface. Please, Zoe, let's get out of here. Come with me. He stood back and held a hand out to me. For the second time that day, an invitation, one I could refuse if I wanted. I stared at it, the hand of the broken boy who said crazy things. I was trapped. I knew what awaited me if I went back. Diagnostic, my secrets all laid out, deactivation, or worse, repairs. I thought again of the boy who'd tried to run, the boy who haunted my dreams. I remembered the crunching noise of the bones in his nose breaking as they slammed him down. I took one glance back down at the dark stairway that was dimly lit now by the doorway. These were my opinions. I could go back to the community, face deactivation and the certainty of never glitching again, or I could venture out to the surface, either dying quickly in the toxic air, or just maybe having a chance of escape. Behind Adrian's frame, I caught a glimpse of the surface. It was so bright. All I could see at first was the light, but then in the distance, my eye caught on the edge of something man-made, a building that looked tall and strong and not at all destroyed. Before I could change my mind, I grabbed Adrian's hand and said, "Let's go." I'm sorry for mixing up a couple of words and omitting a couple letters, changing words, but hope you got the basic idea of that, and I'll see you guys again soon.